You have felt it, that frustrating moment when your very effort to succeed becomes the thing that prevents your success. The job interview where your eagerness to impress created awkwardness instead. The social gathering where your desire to be liked made you somehow less likable. The business proposal where your enthusiasm overwhelmed your prospect's decision-making process. In these moments, you glimpse a maddening truth. The self that wants success often stands directly in the path of achieving it. Your personality, your ego, your conscious desires create friction exactly where you need flow. Most people respond to this recognition by trying harder, more preparation, better technique, increased effort. They polish the very self that causes the problem, like shining a stone that blocks their path instead of moving it aside. But there is another way, known to every individual who has ever achieved something extraordinary. They have learned what you are about to learn, how to step out of your own way so completely that success flows through the space where your limitations once stood. This is not about suppressing your personality or diminishing your ambitions. This is about discovering the strategic dissolution of everything in yourself that creates resistance to your own objectives. It is about learning to disappear, not from the world, but from the obstacles you unconsciously create. The transformation that awaits you begins the moment you stop being the problem you are trying to solve. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe about complete transformation, the mind can achieve through the power of conscious disappearance. This is the first and most important truth you must understand before we begin this journey together. The power to disappear from your old self and emerge as something greater has been used by every great person who ever lived, and now this power is available to you. Right here at the beginning of our time together, I want to make you a promise. If you will decide definitely what kind of person you want to become, and write it down so clearly that you can see it in your mind, I will give you the master method with which you may transform your entire existence. The exact moment when this transformation begins will depend entirely upon when you are ready to disappear from your current limitations. When I speak of disappearing, I do not mean running away from your problems or hiding from the world. I mean something far more powerful. I mean the complete removal of the old patterns, the old fears, the old ways of thinking that have kept you small. True transformation requires that you first become invisible to your own limitations. There exists a natural law which is the foundation of all personal change, and I can describe it to you in one clear sentence. Whatever version of yourself you hold constantly in your mind, that is the person you must become. This law works whether you understand it or not, whether you believe it or not, whether you use it on purpose or by accident. The Creator has given every human being the same profound gift. It is the power to take complete control of your own mind and direct it toward any end you choose. This is the only thing in your entire life over which you have absolute control. You cannot control what others do or say. You cannot control the weather or the economy. But you can control every thought that enters your mind and every picture you create in your imagination. Most people never discover this power because they spend their lives reacting to circumstances instead of creating them. They allow other people, other events, other conditions to determine who they become. They remain visible to their old selves and invisible to their potential. But you have the power to reverse this completely. You can become invisible to limitation and visible to possibility. You can disappear from mediocrity and emerge in excellence. You can vanish from fear and appear in courage. This is not wishful thinking. This is the operation of natural law. The first step in this transformation is to understand that you must give up your attachment to who you have been. You must be willing to let that person disappear completely. Many people want to change, but they also want to keep all their old comfortable habits and familiar patterns. This is impossible. True change requires true disappearance from your former self. When you master this principle, you will discover that transformation is not difficult. It is as natural as the changing of seasons, as certain as the rising sun. The second principle of conscious disappearance is the complete mastery of your mental attitude toward the process of change itself. Most people fear change because they have been taught to believe that their current identity is permanent and unchangeable. This is the greatest illusion that keeps humanity trapped in limitation. Your mind is like a garden. Every thought you think is like a seed you plant. If you plant seeds of your old self, you will harvest more of your old limitations. If you plant seeds of your new self, you will harvest transformation. But here is the secret that few people understand. You cannot plant both types of seeds at the same time and expect to grow anything worthwhile. This is why you must learn to disappear completely from your old way of thinking before you can appear in your new way of being. You cannot think like your old self and become your new self. You cannot hold on to old doubts and create new confidence. You cannot remain attached to old fears and develop new courage. The process of disappearing from your limitations requires what I call mental discipline. This means you must guard your thoughts as carefully as a shepherd guards his flock. Every negative thought about yourself must be immediately replaced with a positive vision of who you are becoming. Every doubt about your ability to change must be instantly transformed into faith in your power to transform. Most people allow their minds to wander freely, thinking whatever thoughts happen to drift through their consciousness. This is like allowing weeds to grow wild in a garden. If you want to harvest transformation, you must cultivate transformation thoughts with the same care that a farmer cultivates his crops. The thoughts you think most often become the person you are. Think thoughts of limitation, and you become limited. Think thoughts of possibility, and you become possible. Think thoughts of your old self, and you remain your old self. Think thoughts of your new self, and you become your new self. This is not theory. This is practical law. Your mind cannot tell the difference between what you imagine vividly and what you experience actually. When you create a clear picture in your mind of who you want to become, your mind begins to work day and night to make that picture real. But you must give your mind something to work with. You must feed it clear images of your transformed self. You must see yourself acting with confidence when you have been fearful. You must see yourself succeeding where you have failed. You must see yourself strong where you have been weak. The moment you begin this practice, you begin to disappear from your old identity and appear in your new one. This happens gradually at first, then more rapidly as your mind accepts the new picture as real. Soon, others will notice the change in you before you notice it yourself. This is the power that has been used by every person who ever achieved true transformation. Now, this power is available to you. The third principle of transformation through disappearance is the development of what I call invisible persistence. This is the quality that separates those who achieve lasting change from those who attempt change but fall back into their old patterns within days or weeks. Invisible persistence means you continue moving toward your new self even when no one can see your progress, even when you cannot see your progress, even when every circumstance seems to suggest that you are not changing at all. This is the test that determines whether your transformation will be temporary or permanent. Most people give up on their transformation because they expect to see immediate results. They want to plant a seed today and harvest fruit tomorrow. But lasting change works according to the same laws that govern all growth in nature. The most important work happens beneath the surface, in the invisible realm, long before any results appear in the visible world. When a farmer plants corn, he does not dig up the seeds every day to see if they are growing. He has faith that the natural laws of growth are working even when he cannot see them working. He continues to water the soil and protect the field because he knows that visible harvest follows invisible growth. Your transformation follows the same principle. Every day that you think thoughts of your new self, every day that you act as your new self would act, every day that you refuse to return to your old patterns, you are growing stronger in your new identity. This growth is invisible at first, but it is real and it is powerful. The person you are becoming exists first in the invisible realm of thought and feeling before it appears in the visible realm of action and result. You must learn to live in this invisible realm with complete confidence, knowing that what you cannot yet see is more real than what you can see. This requires faith. Not faith in some outside power, but faith in the natural laws that govern human transformation. These laws are as reliable as the law of gravity. When you apply them correctly and consistently, they must produce results. This is not hope or belief. This is scientific certainty. But you must persist through the invisible period, when nothing seems to be happening. You must continue to disappear from your old self and appear as your new self, even when others cannot see the change. You must trust the process, even when the process seems to be taking too long. During this invisible period, your old self will try to convince you to give up. Your old patterns will seem comfortable and familiar. Your old fears will whisper that change is impossible. This is the crucial moment when you must choose between remaining who you have been and becoming who you are meant to be. Those who choose to persist through this invisible period always emerge victorious. Those who give up during this period return to exactly where they started, often in worse condition than before because they have proven to themselves that they cannot change. The fourth principle is the mastery of what I call conscious forgetting. This is one of the most important skills you can develop, yet it is rarely taught and seldom understood. Conscious forgetting means you deliberately choose to forget everything about yourself that does not serve your new identity. Most people carry their past with them like heavy chains. They remember every failure, every mistake, every time they tried and did not succeed. They use their past as evidence that they cannot change, that they are not capable of becoming something greater. This is the greatest obstacle to transformation. Your past has no power over your future except the power you give it through memory and attention. When you constantly remember your old limitations, you keep them alive in your mind. When you keep them alive in your mind, you keep them alive in your reality. You cannot transform while you are constantly feeding energy to your old self through memory. Conscious forgetting does not mean pretending your past never happened. It means choosing not to give your past any power over your present or future. It means refusing to let yesterday determine who you become today. It means looking at your old patterns, your old failures, your old fears as if they belonged to someone else entirely. This is not difficult once you understand that you are not the same person who had those experiences. The person who failed in the past was operating with different knowledge, different beliefs, different mental patterns. The person you are becoming has new knowledge, new beliefs, new mental patterns. These are two completely different people. When you truly understand this, you can look at your past failures with the same detachment that you would look at someone else's failures. You can observe them without being controlled by them. You can learn from them without being limited by them. You can remember them without being defined by them. The practice of conscious forgetting requires daily discipline. Each morning when you wake, you must choose to forget the person you were yesterday and remember only the person you are becoming today. Each time an old memory tries to convince you that you cannot change, you must consciously forget that memory and replace it with a vision of your new capabilities. This is not self-deception. This is practical wisdom. Your mind can only hold one clear picture at a time. If you fill your mind with pictures of your old limitations, there is no room for pictures of your new possibilities. If you fill your mind with pictures of your new possibilities, your old limitations naturally fade away. Most people do exactly the opposite. They remember vividly everything that went wrong and forget quickly everything that went right. They can tell you in detail about every time they failed, but struggle to remember their successes. This mental habit creates a pattern of expecting failure and forgetting success. You must reverse this pattern completely. Remember vividly every success, every moment of progress, every sign that you are changing. Forget quickly every setback, every temporary return to old patterns, every moment of doubt. This is how you train your mind to expect transformation instead of limitation. The fifth principle of transformation is the development of what I call the invisible self. This is the version of yourself that exists in your mind before it appears in your actions, the person you become in private before you become that person in public. The invisible self is where all real change begins and where all lasting change is maintained. Your invisible self is created through the thoughts you think when no one is listening, the conversations you have with yourself when no one is watching, the mental pictures you create when no one else can see them. This invisible self becomes more real to you than your visible self, and eventually your visible self must change to match your invisible self. Most people spend their time trying to change their visible actions while ignoring their invisible thoughts. They try to act confident while thinking fearful thoughts. They try to behave successfully while maintaining failure consciousness. This approach always fails because you cannot permanently act differently than you think. Your invisible self must be created with the same care and attention that a sculptor creates a masterpiece. Every thought you think is like a chisel stroke, shaping the invisible person you are becoming. Every mental picture you create adds detail to your invisible identity. Every internal conversation either builds up or tears down your invisible self. Do not let their discomfort stop your transformation. Do not let their fear of change become your fear of change. Do not let their attachment to your old self prevent you from becoming your new self. You must be willing to disappear from their limited expectations and appear as your unlimited self, even if they do not understand or approve. Some people will support your transformation and celebrate your growth. These people are gifts in your life, and you should treasure them. But some people will resist your transformation and try to discourage your growth. These people are tests of your commitment to change. You must remain committed to your transformation regardless of their resistance. Remember that you cannot control other people's reactions to your change, but you can control your reaction to their reactions. You cannot force them to accept your new self, but you can refuse to let their rejection return you to your old self. You cannot make them comfortable with your transformation, but you can remain comfortable with it yourself. The opinion that matters most is your own opinion of yourself. The approval that matters most is your own approval of who you are becoming. The acceptance that matters most is your own acceptance of your right to transform. When you have these, other people's opinions lose their power to control you. You must learn to live as if you are the only person whose opinion matters about your transformation. This is not selfishness, this is self-preservation. It is protecting your right to become who you are meant to become. The seventh principle is the mastery of invisible courage. This is a special type of bravery that allows you to continue transforming even when you feel afraid, uncertain, or overwhelmed by the changes you are creating in your life. Invisible courage operates in the quiet moments when no one sees your struggle and no one witnesses your determination to keep going. Most people think courage means not feeling fear. This is false. True courage means feeling fear and choosing to act in spite of it. Invisible courage means feeling afraid of becoming someone new and choosing to become that person anyway. It means facing the uncertainty of transformation and moving forward into the unknown. When you begin to disappear from your old self, you enter territory you have never explored before. Your old self knew what to expect because it had been the same for years. Your new self must learn to navigate unfamiliar situations with unfamiliar skills. This naturally creates fear and uncertainty. This is not a sign that something is wrong. This is a sign that transformation is working. Your old fears will tell you that staying the same is safer than changing. Your old patterns will whisper that you should return to what is familiar and comfortable. Your old limitations will argue that transformation is too risky, too uncertain, too difficult. This is when invisible courage becomes essential. Invisible courage allows you to acknowledge these fears without being controlled by them. You can hear the voice of your old self trying to pull you back to your old patterns, and you can choose to ignore that voice. You can feel the fear of the unknown, and you can choose to step into the unknown anyway. This courage is invisible because it operates in the private moments of your life. It shows up when you choose to think new thoughts instead of old thoughts when no one is around to see your choice. It appears when you practice new behaviors instead of old behaviors when no one is watching. It emerges when you hold on to your vision of transformation, even when everything around you suggests you should give up. Invisible courage is built through small, daily choices. Each time you choose growth over comfort, you build courage. Each time you choose possibility over limitation, you build courage. Each time you choose your new self over your old self, you build courage. These small choices accumulate into unshakable strength. Most people wait until they feel brave before they act courageously. This is backwards. You become brave by acting courageously before you feel brave. You develop courage by doing courageous things while you still feel afraid. Each courageous action makes the next courageous action easier. Your transformation requires you to do many things you have never done before. You must think thoughts you have never thought, make choices you have never made, take actions you have never taken. Each of these firsts requires courage. But each success builds confidence for the next challenge. Remember that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the presence of determination that is stronger than fear. When your determination to transform is stronger than your fear of change, you have developed invisible courage. When your commitment to your new self is stronger than your attachment to your old self, you have mastered this principle. The eighth principle is understanding the power of invisible preparation. Before you can appear as your new self in the world, you must first become your new self in the invisible realm of thought, feeling, and private practice. All lasting transformation happens first in private before it manifests in public. Most people try to change their outer circumstances without first changing their inner preparation. They want a new job without developing new skills. They want new relationships without developing new ways of relating. They want new results without developing new methods. This approach always fails because outer change must be preceded by inner preparation. Your invisible preparation is the work you do when no one is watching, no one is judging, and no one is measuring your progress. It is the thoughts you think, the feelings you cultivate, the mental pictures you create, the inner conversations you have with yourself. This preparation creates the foundation upon which your visible transformation will be built. Just as an athlete prepares for competition through hours of invisible practice, you must prepare for your new life through hours of invisible mental and emotional work. The athlete does not wait until game day to develop their skills. They develop their skills in private so they can demonstrate them in public. You must follow the same principle with your transformation. Your invisible preparation includes studying the thoughts, beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors of the person you want to become. You must understand how this person thinks about problems, how they respond to challenges, how they make decisions, how they treat other people. You cannot become someone whose ways of thinking and acting you do not understand. This preparation also includes practicing your new identity in your imagination. You must see yourself handling situations as your new self would handle them. You must feel the emotions your new self would feel. You must rehearse the responses your new self would make. This mental rehearsal prepares your mind and body to act naturally as your new self when real situations arise. The more thoroughly you prepare invisibly, the more easily you will transform visibly. The person who prepares carefully can change quickly when the opportunity arrives. The person who does not prepare struggles and fails when opportunity appears because they are not ready to act as their new self. Your invisible preparation must be daily and consistent, just as physical exercise must be regular to build strength. Mental preparation must be regular to build transformation. You cannot prepare sporadically and expect lasting results. You must make invisible preparation a natural part of your daily routine. This preparation often feels unnecessary because you cannot immediately see its results. You may feel like you are wasting time thinking and imagining instead of taking action. But this invisible work is the most important action you can take. It creates the mental and emotional foundation that makes all other action possible. Remember that everything that exists in the visible world was first created in the invisible world of thought and imagination. Your transformation follows the same law. Your new self must first be created completely in your mind before it can appear completely in your life. The more detailed and complete your invisible preparation, the more successful and lasting your visible transformation will be. The ninth principle is the development of invisible discipline. This is the ability to control your thoughts, emotions, and actions, even when no external force is compelling you to do so. Invisible discipline is what separates those who transform permanently from those who transform temporarily and then return to their old patterns. Most people rely on external motivation to maintain their progress. They need other people to encourage them, remind them, or hold them accountable. But external motivation is unreliable because other people are not always available and external circumstances constantly change. True transformation requires internal discipline that operates regardless of external conditions. Invisible discipline means you do what needs to be done to maintain your transformation even when you do not feel like doing it. You think the thoughts of your new self even when thinking old thoughts would be easier. You choose actions that support your transformation even when choosing old actions would be more comfortable. You maintain your vision of who you are becoming, even when returning to who you were would require less effort. This discipline is invisible because it operates in the private moments of your life when no one else can see your choices. It shows up in the early morning when you choose to begin your day with positive thoughts instead of negative worries. It appears late at night when you choose to end your day with gratitude instead of complaints. It emerges in the quiet moments when you choose to rehearse your new identity instead of dwelling on your old limitations. The development of invisible discipline requires you to become your own teacher, your own coach, your own source of motivation. You must learn to encourage yourself when you feel discouraged, to push yourself when you feel lazy, to correct yourself when you slip back into old patterns. You must become the authority in your own life instead of looking for authority outside yourself. This discipline is built through small daily victories. Each time you choose your new thoughts over your old thoughts, you build discipline. Each time you choose your new actions over your old actions, you build discipline. Each time you choose your long-term transformation over your short-term comfort, you build discipline. These small victories accumulate into unbreakable strength. Most people underestimate the power of small disciplined choices because each individual choice seems insignificant. But transformation is not created by large, dramatic changes. It is created by small, consistent choices repeated over time. The person who makes the right small choice consistently will always defeat the person who makes the right large choice occasionally. Your invisible discipline must extend to every area of your life that affects your transformation. You must discipline your thoughts to focus on possibilities instead of limitations. You must discipline your emotions to feel confident instead of fearful. You must discipline your actions to support your new identity instead of your old identity. You must discipline your attention to notice your progress instead of your problems. Remember that discipline is not punishment. Discipline is training that develops strength, skill, and character. Just as physical discipline develops physical strength, invisible discipline develops mental and emotional strength. The stronger your invisible discipline becomes, the easier your transformation becomes, until maintaining your new self requires no conscious effort at all. The 10th principle is mastering the art of invisible faith. This is a special type of belief that allows you to continue working toward your transformation even when you cannot see evidence that it is working. Invisible faith operates in the gap between planting the seeds of change and harvesting the results of transformation. Most people give up on their transformation because they expect to see immediate proof that their efforts are working. They want to feel different today because they thought different thoughts yesterday. They want others to notice their change immediately after they begin changing. When this immediate proof does not appear, they conclude that transformation is not possible for them. But lasting transformation follows natural laws that require time to produce visible results. Just as a farmer must have faith that seeds planted in spring will produce a harvest in fall, you must have faith that the mental and emotional seeds you plant today will produce transformation in the future. This faith must sustain you through the invisible period when change is happening but cannot yet be seen. Invisible faith means you continue to think, feel, and act as your new self even when your circumstances have not yet changed to match your new identity. You maintain your vision of transformation even when your current reality contradicts that vision. You persist in your new patterns even when your old results continue to appear. This faith is not blind belief or wishful thinking. It is confidence based on understanding how transformation works. When you understand that all change happens first in the invisible realm before appearing in the visible realm, you can have faith during the invisible period because you know that visible results must eventually follow invisible preparation. Your invisible faith must be stronger than your visible circumstances. Your belief in who you are becoming must be stronger than the evidence of who you have been. Your confidence in your new identity must be stronger than other people's expectations based on your old identity. Your faith in your potential must be stronger than your fear of your limitations. This faith is developed through daily practice. Each morning you must choose to believe in your transformation regardless of how you feel or what you see around you. Each evening you must maintain your faith even if the day did not unfold as you hoped. Each moment you must trust the process of change, even when the process seems slow or uncertain. Invisible faith also requires you to act as if your transformation is already complete in the invisible realm and will soon appear in the visible realm. You think as your new self thinks. You feel as your new self feels. You choose as your new self chooses. You respond as your new self responds. This is not pretending. This is practicing faith through action. Most people wait until they see results before they have faith. This is backwards. You must have faith first, then you will see results. You must believe in your transformation before your transformation becomes visible. You must act as your new self before you feel like your new self. Faith creates the conditions that allow transformation to manifest. Remember that faith without action is powerless, but action without faith is temporary. You need both faith in your ability to transform and consistent action toward your transformation. When you combine invisible faith with visible action, transformation becomes inevitable. The 11th principle is understanding the power of invisible influence. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every mental picture you create sends out invisible vibrations that influence your circumstances and attract experiences that match your inner state. When you change your invisible vibrations, you change your visible results. Most people do not understand that they are constantly broadcasting their inner state to the world around them. They believe their thoughts and feelings are private and have no effect on their external circumstances. This is one of the greatest mistakes that prevents transformation. Your inner state creates your outer experience, whether you understand this law or not. Your invisible influence operates through vibrations that are felt by other people, even when they are not consciously aware of them. When you think confident thoughts and feel confident emotions, you broadcast confidence, and other people respond to you as a confident person. When you think fearful thoughts and feel fearful emotions, you broadcast fear, and other people respond to you as a fearful person. This influence extends beyond your interactions with people to your interactions with all circumstances in your life. When you maintain a prosperity consciousness, you attract prosperous conditions. When you maintain a health consciousness, you attract healthy conditions. When you maintain a success consciousness, you attract successful conditions. Your consciousness creates your conditions. The transformation of your invisible influence begins with taking complete responsibility for the vibrations you are sending out. You must understand that every circumstance in your life has been attracted by the invisible influence you have been broadcasting. If you want different circumstances, you must broadcast different vibrations through different thoughts and emotions. This responsibility is actually good news because it means you have complete control over your future experiences. You are not a victim of circumstances beyond your control. You are the creator of circumstances through the invisible influence of your consciousness. When you change your consciousness, you change your circumstances. Your invisible influence must be carefully controlled and directed toward your transformation goals. You cannot think scattered, confused, fearful thoughts and expect to attract organized, clear, confident circumstances. You cannot feel limitation and expect to attract abundance. You cannot maintain doubt and expect to attract certainty. Your outer experience will always match your inner broadcasting. The development of powerful invisible influence requires constant attention to your inner state. You must monitor your thoughts and emotions throughout the day and adjust them when they drift away from your transformation goals. You must maintain the inner state that matches the outer results you desire, even when your current circumstances do not yet reflect your desired results. This influence works most powerfully when it operates consistently over time. One day of positive thinking will not transform a lifetime of negative circumstances, but weeks and months of consistent positive consciousness will inevitably transform your entire life experience. The law of invisible influence is patient but certain in its operation. Remember that other people can sense your invisible influence even when you try to hide it. You cannot think one way privately and influence others differently publicly. Your true inner state always broadcasts itself through subtle signals that others pick up unconsciously. This is why transformation must be genuine and complete, not just surface acting. When you master invisible influence, you discover that you have been given the power to create your own experience of life through the consciousness you choose to maintain. The 12th principle is learning to operate in invisible time. This is the understanding that your transformation exists in a different time dimension than your daily schedule. While your outer life operates according to clocks and calendars, your inner transformation operates according to readiness and preparation. Most people try to force their transformation to happen according to their impatience rather than according to natural law. They want to be completely changed by next week, next month, or by some arbitrary deadline they have set for themselves. When transformation does not happen according to their timeline, they become frustrated and often give up entirely. But transformation cannot be rushed any more than you can rush the growth of a tree or the changing of seasons. There is an invisible timing that governs all real change, and this timing is determined by your level of preparation, your depth of commitment, and your readiness to release your old identity completely. Invisible time moves according to your inner development rather than outer duration. You may spend years thinking about transformation without any real progress, then experience dramatic change in a matter of weeks when you become truly ready. Or you may work steadily for months with little visible progress, then suddenly break through into your new identity when your preparation is complete. This timing cannot be predicted or controlled, but it can be prepared for and cooperated with. Your job is not to determine when your transformation will be complete. Your job is to prepare yourself so thoroughly that when the right moment arrives, you are ready to step completely into your new identity without hesitation or reservation. The preparation for transformation in invisible time requires daily consistency rather than dramatic effort. You must show up every day to do the inner work of thinking new thoughts, feeling new emotions, and practicing new behaviors. You cannot skip days and expect to stay on schedule because transformation scheduling does not work like project scheduling. Invisible time also operates in cycles rather than straight lines. You may experience periods of rapid progress followed by periods of apparent stagnation. You may feel like you are moving forward quickly, then feel like you are moving backward slowly. These cycles are natural and necessary parts of the transformation process, not signs that something is wrong. During periods of apparent stagnation, you are often integrating changes that have already occurred in your consciousness. During periods of apparent regression, you are often releasing old patterns that must be cleared before new patterns can be fully established. Both types of periods are essential for complete transformation. Your patience with invisible time determines your success with visible transformation. Those who try to rush the process often force premature changes that do not last. Those who allow the process to unfold naturally often find that their transformation is more complete and permanent than they originally imagined possible. The mastery of invisible time requires faith in the process, even when you cannot see or understand what is happening. You must trust that consistent preparation is creating the conditions for eventual transformation, even when progress seems slow or unclear. You must believe that your efforts are accumulating invisible momentum that will eventually produce visible breakthrough. Remember that everything worthwhile in life operates according to invisible time rather than clock time. Love, wisdom, character, and all forms of real value develop gradually through consistent attention rather than suddenly through intensive effort. The 13th principle is the mastery of invisible surrender. This is the ability to release your attachment to your old identity so completely that your new identity can emerge without resistance from your past pattern. Most people fail to transform permanently because they try to add new qualities to their old self instead of surrendering their old self entirely. True transformation requires a form of death and rebirth. Your old self must die so your new self can be born. This death is not physical but psychological. It is the complete release of who you have been so you can become who you are meant to be. Without this surrender, transformation becomes a struggle between your old identity trying to survive and your new identity trying to emerge. Your old self will resist this surrender because it believes that its survival depends on remaining unchanged. It will create fear about who you might become without it. It will generate doubt about whether your new self will be able to handle the challenges your old self has been managing. It will argue that staying the same is safer than changing completely. But your old self is not protecting you by resisting change. It is limiting you by preventing growth. The qualities you fear losing by surrendering your old identity are the very qualities that have kept you trapped in limitation. The safety your old self promises is the safety of never discovering what you are truly capable of becoming. Invisible surrender means releasing your attachment to your old thoughts, old emotions, old reactions, and old behaviors without knowing exactly what will replace them. It means trusting that your new identity contains everything you need to handle whatever life brings you. It means having faith that who you become through transformation will be superior to who you have been through habit. This surrender cannot be forced or rushed. It happens naturally when you become completely convinced that your old identity no longer serves your highest good. When you see clearly that your old patterns create limitation and your new patterns create possibility, surrender becomes easy because it becomes obvious. The process of surrender often feels uncomfortable because it involves letting go of familiar territory and entering unknown territory. Your mind may create anxiety about this unknown territory because it cannot predict what will happen there. This anxiety is natural and temporary. It disappears as soon as your new identity becomes familiar. Invisible surrender also means releasing your attachment to controlling exactly how your transformation unfolds. You must be willing to become someone you cannot yet fully imagine. You must be open to discovering qualities and capabilities you did not know you possessed. You must trust the process of change to create something better than what you could plan. Most people want to surrender only the parts of their old identity they do not like while keeping the parts they do like. This partial surrender cannot produce complete transformation. You must be willing to surrender your entire old identity, trusting that everything valuable will be preserved and enhanced in your new identity, while everything limiting will be replaced with something better. Remember that surrender is not weakness. Surrender is the strength to let go of what no longer serves you so you can embrace what will serve you better. It is the courage to trade the known for the unknown because you trust the unknown to be superior. The 14th principle is developing invisible wisdom. This is a special type of knowledge that comes not from books or teachers, but from the process of transformation itself. Invisible wisdom is the understanding you gain about yourself, about life, and about the nature of change through the experience of consciously creating a new identity. Most people seek wisdom from external sources. They read books, attend seminars, listen to experts, hoping to find the answers they need for their transformation. While external knowledge can be helpful, it cannot replace the wisdom that comes from your own direct experience of change. This invisible wisdom is more valuable than any knowledge you can acquire from outside sources. Your transformation process is your greatest teacher because it shows you truths about yourself that you could never learn any other way. It reveals your hidden strengths, your unconscious limitations, your deepest fears, and your highest possibilities. It teaches you how change really works, not just how it is supposed to work according to theory. Each challenge you face during transformation becomes a source of wisdom when you approach it with the right attitude. Instead of seeing obstacles as problems, you can see them as lessons. Instead of seeing setbacks as failures, you can see them as information. Instead of seeing resistance as opposition, you can see it as guidance about what needs to be addressed. Invisible wisdom develops gradually through reflection on your transformation experience. You must take time to think about what you are learning, what is working, what is not working, and why. You must examine your patterns, your reactions, your progress, and your setbacks with honest curiosity rather than harsh judgment. This wisdom cannot be rushed or forced. It emerges naturally when you remain open to learning from every aspect of your transformation journey. The moments of struggle often teach you more than the moments of ease. The times when you feel confused often lead to greater clarity than the times when you feel certain. One of the most important aspects of invisible wisdom is learning to trust your own inner guidance about your transformation. You begin to sense what is right for you and what is not right for you. You develop confidence in your ability to navigate the transformation process without constantly seeking approval or direction from others. Invisible wisdom also teaches you about the nature of reality and how it can be influenced by consciousness. You discover that circumstances are more flexible than they appear and that your inner state has more power than you previously understood. You learn that what seems impossible from one level of consciousness becomes natural from another level. This wisdom makes future transformations easier because you understand how the process works from direct experience. You develop confidence in your ability to create change because you have proven to yourself that change is possible. You learn to recognize the signs of transformation and to trust the process even when it becomes challenging. The accumulation of invisible wisdom eventually creates what might be called transformation mastery. You become skilled at creating deliberate change in yourself and helping others create change in themselves. You understand the principles, the process, the pitfalls, and the possibilities of conscious transformation from lived experience. Remember that invisible wisdom is earned through engagement with the transformation process, not through avoidance of it. The more fully you commit to your own change, the more wisdom you gain about the nature of change itself. The 15th and final principle is understanding your invisible legacy. This is the recognition that your transformation creates effects that extend far beyond your personal life. When you successfully disappear from limitation and emerge in your full potential, you demonstrate to others that transformation is possible, and this demonstration influences countless lives in ways you may never know. Most people think of transformation as a personal project that affects only themselves. They focus on the benefits they will receive and the changes they will experience. While these personal benefits are important, they represent only a small fraction of the impact your transformation creates in the world. Every time you choose growth over comfort, possibility over limitation, courage over fear, you send invisible ripples through the consciousness of humanity. Other people sense your transformation even when they cannot explain what they are sensing. They feel the shift in your energy, your confidence, your presence, and this feeling awakens something in them. Your invisible legacy is created through the example you set simply by becoming who you are meant to become. You do not need to teach others about transformation or convince them to change. Your transformed presence speaks more powerfully than any words could speak. People see what is possible when someone commits completely to their own growth. Children are especially sensitive to your invisible legacy. They notice when the adults around them are growing and changing in positive ways. They absorb the possibility that people can transform themselves through conscious choice and effort. This understanding becomes part of their fundamental beliefs about life and human potential. Your transformation also affects the people closest to you by changing the energy of your relationships. When you disappear from your old patterns of fear, limitation, and negativity, you create space for others to do the same. When you emerge in confidence, possibility, and positivity, you invite others to join you in this higher way of being. The invisible legacy of your transformation continues long after you are gone. The people whose lives were touched by your example carry that influence forward to others. The children who witnessed your growth carry that possibility into their adult lives. The ripple effects of one person's complete transformation can influence generations. This legacy is created not through what you accomplish externally, but through who you become internally. The outer achievements of your transformed life may be forgotten, but the inner achievement of becoming your highest self creates permanent changes in the fabric of consciousness that benefit all humanity. Understanding your invisible legacy adds meaning and purpose to the sometimes difficult work of transformation. When you realize that your personal growth contributes to the growth of consciousness itself, you find motivation to persist through challenges that might otherwise discourage you. You understand that your transformation matters not just to you, but to the future of human potential. Your invisible legacy also creates responsibility. When you understand that your transformation influences others, you become more committed to making that transformation complete and authentic. You cannot afford to settle for partial change or temporary improvement because your example teaches others what is possible. The completion of your transformation marks the beginning of your legacy. As you disappear completely from limitation and emerge completely in your potential, you join the invisible ranks of those who have proven that conscious transformation is possible. Your life becomes evidence that any person can choose to change and that any limitation can be transcended through understanding and application of these principles. Remember that your invisible legacy is not created by perfection, but by persistent commitment to growth. The world needs examples of ordinary people who choose to become extraordinary through conscious transformation. Your willingness to disappear from who you have been and transform into who you can become creates hope and possibility.